Yo, how's it going, everybody? It's MacklinGaming, and it is the first week of June. We're less than 3 weeks away from Shadow the Erdtree DLC, and I honestly can't wait. I've gotten back into playing Elden Ring on my third playthrough, prepping for the DLC. So I'll share some tips on how to prepare for the DLC and get your character ready to go. But it looks like the embargo is lifted on the Shadow the Erdtree DLC recently, like this week. And I've seen some people have been able to play it and get hands-on gameplay for like the first 3 hours of the DLC. So that's pretty exciting. You know, they've written up about what they experienced so far with not too many spoilers. So we're going to first get into that. So let's check out what Bandai Namco's saying here about the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. And then we'll see about the hands-on gameplay, first impression. So, Fall from Grace, the Land of Shadow, a place obscured by the Erdtree. So it looks like the Land of Shadow is going to be a whole new area separate from the lands between. So all these people are involved, so you got to get your lore ready. Let's check that out. Let's see, Elden Ring, yes, legendary, we know, instant legend. So this is From Software's largest expansion to date. So they put out a lot of DLCs for Dark Souls and Bloodborne and stuff, and they were pretty hefty and pretty good DLCs, but this is going to be their biggest, and I imagine just hardest too, craziest bosses. We'll see. A new story, guided by Empyrean Mikola. Players are beckoned to the Land of Shadow. Yeah, so it's definitely a separate area of the map where the goddess Marika set foot. So I got to keep all these characters straight. You've got Mikola, you got Millennia, Marika. So it's like kind of tricky. You got to brush up on your lore. That's the first tip to prepare for the DLC. Brush up on your lore. Watch some like Vati videos or something. Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree takes players beyond the lands between. Yeah, we got that. You can seamlessly travel back and forth between maps. This is a great little screen shot right here. I love that. Love to see like some, relatively bright looking forest, because Elden Ring's such a dark game overall, which I love the art style. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing. Further deepened RPG. We're going to get new weapons, equipment, skills, and magic that were not in the base game. So that's awesome. I heard there's going to be like 8 new classes. That sounds like a lot, like weapon classes, right? And over 100 new weapons. That's what's going around. Large scale expansion. So yeah, so that's about it for what Bandai Namco's sharing here. But let's see what over here, Mitchell Saltzman from IGN. He's one of their go-to like fighting game or difficult action game player and reviewer. So let's see what Mitch has to say. Something magical about playing Elden Ring for the first time. Yeah, we know, but okay. The DLC. New challenges, especially even despite my provided level 150 character. So he says the DLC is already a challenge, even though he's got an endgame character. Now that is another tip for you guys. Level 150 is like the base game's like meta cap level. So I would recommend get a character to level 150. So essentially like endgame, beat the game, right? Now, if you haven't played in a long time, that might be a tough task. Or like if you don't have a save file with a character anywhere close to that, I've heard that you've got to finish Mog, Lord of Blood boss battle. So you've got to get up to Mog, Lord of Blood. That's like maybe halfway through the game, a little bit more than that. So level like 80 or 90. That might be like the minimum of what you want to enter the DLC at. So the DLC, it starts in the boss room. That's what he's saying right here, of the Mog Lord of Blood. So you got to finish that. That's like a requirement. This is important right here. Like comparing the Realm of Shadow, the new map size, to the original map. Well, I guess he doesn't say that it's the same size as Limgrave, but it gave him the same feeling stepping out into the land. They probably show you like a nice landscape overview. You've got like a high up view of the new map and where to go. But I've heard from other sources that the new map of the Shadow the Erdtree DLC is going to be like the size of Limgrave and Weeping Peninsula, and maybe a little bit of Caelid. It's like the size of the first 2 to 3 regions of the game, which is like almost half of the size of the map, probably like over a third the size of the base game map. So that's going to be a huge DLC area. But yeah, it looks like the first enemy that he faced killed him, even though he had a, meta cap level character. Super strong axe strength build, it looks like. But yeah, it looks like there's going to be a pretty large dungeon, something similar to Stormvale Castle or Castle Morn. Not quite as big as a legacy dungeon, but close. So it looks like there's new enemies and new fighting styles and weapons that the game's going to feel super fresh, and you're not just going to know how to time up every enemy's attacks. And man, that's going to be exciting, but also it's going to be tough. It's going to be frustrating. So, I don't want to get too much into the spoilers of the DLC. I just wanted to see about, how big is the map size going to be? How difficult are the new enemies, and like what level you should be when you get there. So I think we've covered a good amount of that. You want to be anywhere from like level 80 or 90. If you have a character you've beaten the base game with, that'd be perfect. So then the next tip for me would be you want to get a build together, obviously, right? But if you've never played Elden Ring, you might not know like what I'm talking about. But you got to decide on a build. Don't just pick stats randomly. Sometimes you got to create a build around a certain weapon. And in that case, allocate your stats for that item scaling or that weapon scaling. And if the weapon scales with intelligence, you better have high intelligence stat. If your weapon scales with strength, go strength. But you also have to go like endurance if you go strength, And if you have intelligence, you also have to pick mind to get a good amount of FP. So you got to look into the build and stat allocations to get like a prototype build, like a perfect build to cater to whatever play style you choose. So there's a lot to go over in order to prep. What else you should probably do is, make sure you have a lot of flasks, right? I don't want to say Estus flasks from Dark Souls, but just gather a lot of golden seeds, which you can find around the map. They're just sitting in the overworld, always under like a bright little tree. And with those seeds, you can unlock more health potions and more FP potions. And you want to make sure you can get as many of those going into the DLC as possible. So that would be probably about it for me for now. I'm sure in the next couple weeks before the DLC comes out, if new developments arise, I'll make a video about it and let you guys know. But in conclusion, just to review the tips, make sure you have a character level 90 or above. Get yourself a solid build. Find a weapon that's like very good for the build, like a very good strength weapon or very good faith weapon, and try to like revolve your build around that weapon. And then get up to Mog Lord of Blood boss battle and defeat Mog. That's a tough one. That's a really tough boss battle. So, and it's pretty deep into the game. So you guys got work to do there. And if you've done all those things, you just got to be patient and try to jump back into the base game and get warmed up. I think that would be the last tip. Very important is get your muscle memory warmed up. Get the controls back. If you've been playing other games where you press like square and triangle, or if you're on Xbox, what is it, like X and Y to attack? That's going to be way different from pressing the R1 and R2 trigger to attack and stuff like that. So make sure your muscle memory is warmed up. Play a little bit of the base game, and we just got to wait until the DLC. So let me know what you guys think. Are you excited for the DLC? What do you think the new weapons will be like? Do you think they're going to throw in a boss that's going to be the hardest Elden Ring boss or From Software boss to date? Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.